Assalamu alaikum and welcome to my official YouTube channel. I've got an esteemed guest with me today, and he's renowned for wearing his heart on the sleeve. And none other than Mickey Arthur. Mickey, thank you very much for your time.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me, Aamir.
It's a pleasure. So I just wanted to ask you a few things. Tell us about your tenure in Pakistan and how do you rate it?
Look, I loved it. I loved every minute of it. There's four words always: exhilarating, chaotic, exciting, and fulfilling in so many different ways.
So when you talk about chaotic, does it mean that dealing with wild and untutored talent, or does it mean anything else?
Well, chaotic encompasses so many different things. It's the wild, untutored talent is just amazing to deal with, and so many skilled young players who come from like unstructured systems, and trying to get them into a structured system takes some time. But then it's the emotion, the dealing with the Pakistan media, which was tough. The Pakistan media is pretty uncompromising. The crowd, the excitement, the noise, just everything encapsulated. Chaotic was the one word that encapsulated. It was so fulfilling, and then in other words, it's so draining. But I wouldn't have had it any other way. It was exciting.
One thing after you left Pakistan's job, you started to grow your hair back.
My hair did come back a little bit. I lost a lot in Pakistan, I can tell you.
So tell me, when you took the Pakistani coaching job,
yeah.
What were the aims and objectives you set for yourself and the team?
Well, I very clearly, Aamir, whenever I go into a job, I want to leave the place in a better place than when I found it.
Okay.
So how you measure that? I measure that in terms of structure, in terms of development of players, in terms of finding new young talent, but also leaving them in a better position in the world rankings. And test ranking was pretty much, and Waka and Misbah had done a really good job with the test team when I came in. I was lucky enough for us to be crowned number one when I was there, but I can't take any credit for that, because that had been sort of set in stone. We had a test team that was very experienced. Misbah, Yunus Khan, there was a lot of experience around that test side at that point in time. The one-day cricket was in a bit of a mess, though.
Yeah, it was actually. And tell me about when you actually reach end of your tenure. Do you think you were able to achieve few objectives and aims you set for yourself and for the team?
Look, you're always hard on yourself, and you always want more. I genuinely believe we could have won that World Cup. I genuinely do, and I sit back, and the one thing I take a little bit of credence to, it was a little bit disappointing for me, was the fact that I kept on reading that we had a disastrous World Cup. We had a disastrous game against the West Indies, which ultimately cost us. We finished joint fourth. We lost out on net run rate to New Zealand. We beat both New Zealand and England in the round robin stages, who were the finalists, and I think we were the best finishing team of that tournament. We won 5 of our last 6 games. It was the games up front. The 2-1, the West Indies, was very disappointing, and so was the Indian game. Other than that, we could have got across the line against Australia. That was quite tight, and then we had the rain out against Sri Lanka. But all the other games, we beat New Zealand, we beat South Africa, we beat Bangladesh, we beat Afghanistan. We beat England, so we kind of got ourselves into a position where I thought that we were finishing well, we were finishing strong. So in my mind, yeah, we all wanted to win it, but it wasn't a disastrous campaign. We saw a lot of young players come through. Shaheen Shah Afridi was going. Baba Azam played probably one of the best white ball innings I've ever seen
against New Zealand
at Edgbaston. Chasing that down. So we had gone fairly well, and it was disappointing to read all the rhetoric that went with the fact that we had a disastrous World Cup.
One thing you want to point which lacked in that World Cup, you couldn't qualify for the semi-finals.
Well, it was game one of the tournament.
Game one.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it was the game against the West Indies. They blew us away.
Here's an important question. Did your incumbent sat down with you and asked you what were your aims and objectives, where were you, and where should I start? Did he?
No, he didn't. And that's when you take over, you want to kind of do it your way, and I think Misbah, I think he's certainly a great human being. We know that he's a wonderful man. He was a very good cricketer, and I hope he becomes a very good coach. And time will tell that. But no, we haven't. And I guess he wants to come in and do it his way, and that's fine.
No, but for me, it's very important to actually sit with an outgoing person and ask him, where should I start, and what's lacking in the team, or whatever the job you are required to do. I'm surprised that your incumbent didn't sit down with you and discuss things. Anyway, so listening to you, one could gauge easily that you were satisfied with your tenure as a head coach in Pakistan.
Yeah, look, I was. You never completely satisfied.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
No, but if I crit myself on the thing, we certainly got some structure. Our fitness and fielding certainly improved a hell of a lot, which are non-negotiables in international cricket, which wasn't there. I think we unearthed a lot of really good young talent that, if given the right environment, will just get better and better for Pakistan. So we've left that in quite a good shape. I think we certainly left our white ball cricket in a far better shape than when I took over.
Yeah.
The one probably disappointment was that we needed to rebuild our test team. Our test team hadn't quite kicked on once we lost Misbah and Yunus, and once we lost the experience in that test team, our test team hadn't quite. We'd had our moments in England where we could have beaten England in England. We played superbly well at Lords. We had some magical performances against New Zealand in Dubai, but we weren't consistent enough. And so if I crit myself, our test cricket wasn't good enough. Our white ball cricket had progressed to another level.
So do you think it has to do with technical issues with the players? Because our players are not very well equipped. They're picked for the Pakistani team when they are raw, and while they're representing their country, don't you think it becomes very difficult for the player to respond, improve his technique, and do the job?
Look, it is tough, and the one thing I find with Pakistan, and yes, and it was one of the attractions really, because it was so exciting, exhilarating, was everybody's got an opinion.
Yeah.
So and that's nice, but everybody thought he should be playing. So selection becomes blurred because there's so many different opinions on selection, because Pakistan have got a lot of talent. What the players strive for is a system that gives them security, a system that breeds confidence, and I think we certainly gave them that. It was we backed the players in for a period of time, because if you don't back the players in, everybody starts playing for themselves because they want the next test, they want the next tour, they want the next one-day international. But if you can sit down with a plan and give that plan some structure, and you create a brand of cricket that you want to play, and then you pick your personnel around that, but you give them an extended run, that's when you get the best out of the players. It breeds a sense of security, and that was something that I think we did. And we harnessed some special talent. Shadab Khan, incredible Shaheen Shah Afridi. I still think Hassan Ali, Fahim Ashraf have still got a lot to.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have.
And deliver. Yeah.
And they will deliver that, because I think they're talented enough. We've seen Babar Azam go to another. I mean, he's just wonderful as a player. So those are the things that are. Shadab Khan was another one. But those are the things that I hope I've left with, because those guys are jewels. They're gems. They just need to be polished.
So, in a nutshell, you're saying consistency of policy is required.
Yes.
Okay. Here's an important question, because quite a few people were perturbed when Sarfraz was removed as the captain. How was your relation with him, and how did you find him as a captain?
My relationship with Sarfraz was outstanding. I think Sarfraz is a very good leader. Sarfraz had the one thing that I was very privileged to work with: Graham Smith, Michael Clark, Misbah, guys that were very, very good leaders of men. The one thing Sarfraz had that I hadn't seen before was he had the ability to be this authoritative voice and disciplinarian kind of on the field, but when he came into the dressing room, he transformed into like a brother to the guys.
Balancing act.
Yeah. He had that, and people always saw what happened on the field. The movements and the hitting of gloves and but they didn't see the other side of Sarfraz, which was in the dressing room, where he was a very, very popular leader inside that change room. So I loved working with Sarfraz. I thought Sarfraz's technical knowledge, particularly in 2020 cricket, he was always ahead of the game. I thought was outstanding. I loved every minute of working with Sarfraz, and I cherished the moments we had together.
Yeah, it's a shame. Quite a few people in Pakistan, they said he was hard done by the decision when he was removed as the captain. Anyways, that was your Pakistani tenure. Any message for your incumbent? People would like to hear.
Well, yeah. I think you've got to stay consistent. And that's consistent with your coaching style, consistent with your structure, consistent with your selections. I think that's really, and consistent with the roles that you give the players. That's really important, because that will allow the players to flourish. And it's sometimes very easy in Pakistan to be swayed by public opinion. Public opinion sometimes sways a lot of people, because there is so much rhetoric out in the media and on social media and whatever. The minute you start deviating from your plans, you confuse yourself and you start confusing the team. And once you do that, insecurities creep in. So my kind of message is, set your plan up, set your structure up, and then do it your way. Because let's face it, it's going to end in tears. It always ends in tears.
It does.
But when it ends, you want to be able to sit back in your chair and go, well, you know what, I gave that a really good crack, and I did it my way. I didn't bow to any outside pressures or public's opinions. And if it was successful, it was the way I wanted to do it. And if it failed, you can sit back and go, well, you know what, it was the way I wanted to do it, and it didn't work.
Shrug your shoulders.
You can then look yourself in the mirror and know you've done it to the best of your ability.
And do you think he put a lot of pressure on himself when he accepted those two jobs, being a chief selector and then head coach of the Pakistani team?
Look, it's a massive job in Pakistan. Let's be honest. When it happened, I kind of quite liked the structure, because it made, certainly as a coach, I would have liked that type of structure. Now, I wouldn't have known the system as well as what Misbah, and Misbah knows the system in Pakistan incredibly well. So I think I looked at that and I sort of found it quite appealing. But then your communication and your man management and everything that went with that has got to be spot on.
No, I always believed, if you want to be chief selector, and you could be head coach of Pakistan A team. So as a chief selector, you should know what Pakistan team actually requires. And I've worked with the younger player, and it's easier because you are monitoring your domestic cricket, you are working with the players. But if you're the head coach, you are traveling with the team. You're ignoring the young lot, which is coming into ranks. So, in my opinion, and quite a few people think back home that he put added pressure on himself, and then eventually, he kind of crumbled. Anyways, talk to me about Sri Lankan job. How excited are you working with the Sri Lankan, because they are raw talent as well.
Yes,
they're not orthodox, but still, they managed to produce world-class talent.
Yeah. It's exciting. It's exactly the same feeling as when I went into the Pakistan setup. The talent that you've got to work with, albeit not as much as you have in Pakistan, is there. It's now coming in and molding, and based on those pillars I spoke to you about. You're creating a brand, you're getting the personnel right, you're trying to create security, you're creating roles, and those are things that I'm trying to set up here, which is the fundamentals of creating a good setup. So I'm very excited about it. I really am. I don't think, and it's a message I've given to a lot of other people, is I don't think you've ever coached until you've coached in the subcontinent, because the subcontinent just gives you it challenges you in so many other different ways, and it's absolutely exhilarating, and I find that excitement here with Sri Lanka as well.
Sometimes a certain talent defies the coaching manual and becomes
Yes.
very exciting to work with that and find the right way. What is one thing you're aiming to bring in Sri Lankan cricket?
I'm aiming to bring consistency. I'm aiming to bring a particular style to their game, because I think they're so talented, but it's all done a little bit haphazard. You want to just kind of, and you don't want everybody jumping to the same tune, but you want to just fine tune it a little bit. But also, obviously, the tangibles are going to be the results. And Sri Lankan cricket finds themselves on the wrong end of a lot of the tables at the moment. I mean, we've got to go to the next 2020 World Cup and qualify, which clearly is not good enough. So we've got to go to... I want to make sure that when we go to the 2023 World Cup and the 2022-2020 World Cup, we qualify automatically, and then we can... there's no distraction about qualifying and then getting into the tournament. And I just want to see us improving in all facets.
Oh, great. And with this Lanka Premier League happening, have you been able to spot fresh talent?
Yeah, I have, and there has been. It's thrown up a couple of talented young players. I think what it's reassured as well is that a lot of the players that we've got on our radar are the right players, because they're making the significant contributions. The thing it's doing is that it's allowing our players to play with an expectation, to play with a responsibility, to have the added pressures of it going live to a massive TV audience. They don't get that in local domestic cricket. So the gap between local domestic cricket and international cricket was always massive. This is going to hopefully close that gap a little bit and equip our players better for when they get into our national setup.
Thank you very much, Mickey, for your time.
Pleasure.
Always a pleasure
That
to
was
speak
great.
to you.
Thank you, Aamir.
That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed Mickey's conversation with me. Until next time, Khuda Hafiz.